Hi, everyone. I'm sorry we were having some difficulty getting it live streamed to the YouTube channel. The meeting is now being recorded, so I'll call the meeting to order. This is the Citizens Budget Committee meeting to discuss our community grant awards. I'm Lauren Breithaupt. I'm the Finance Director here, and I'll have everyone kind of go around. We're doing a hybrid tonight, so we're here. I'm here at the Bolton room at City Hall, but then there's also some people online, our budget committee members, and then some people who would like to give public comment. I should say that it is 6:04 on June 7th, 2022. Hi. So I am calling this to order, and then I'm going to actually turn the meeting over to Ed Schwartz. I don't know if you want me to have everyone go around first, Ed, and say who they are.
Yeah, let's just go around. Why don't you start in your room and go around there, and then we'll have everybody who's online join
Okay.
in also.
Once again, I'm Lauren Breithaupt. I'm the Finance Director. Alice, would you like to introduce yourself?
Alice Richmond, like everybody doesn't know it.
Everyone knows.
Unfortunately for me.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Christy Balzer. I'm the Development Director for Youth Music Project.
Great. Thank you for being here.
Nikki Cablia,
Hi.
Advisory Committee Member.
Yeah, Budget Committee Member. Yep.
Ann Fraser, Advisory Committee Member.
Okay.
Can you put their name in the bottom of it so we can see who they are? Do you think I'm going to remember all their names?
Jenny, would you like to introduce yourself? I don't think I have an option for that.
Sure.
I can only highlight.
My name is Jenny Evers. I'm the co-president of Westland Wilsonville Music and Art Partners.
Great. Thank you for being here. Ed?
I'm Ed Schwartz. I'm the chair of the Budget Committee.
Thank you. Perrin? You're on mute, Perrin.
I'm Perrin Lim on the Budget Committee. Sorry, off mute.
Great. Thank you. Alex?
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm from Sun Garden Montessori in Westland.
Thank you. Sheila?
Hi, I'm Sheila Waldron, and I'm a member of the Citizens Budget Committee.
Great. And then Shannon.
Hi, Shannon Knight. I'm here representing Portland Water Spectacular Ski Team.
Great. And like I said, I will turn it over to Ed at this point. We'll do some public comments, then we'll discuss the applications, and then develop a recommendation to council from there.
Okay, thank you, Lauren. Thanks, Lauren. We'll go ahead and move towards public comment. I just want to note for the record that I think all 5 of the citizen members of the Budget Committee are present, so we have a quorum. Other than that, I think we can go ahead and move to public comment. So, Lauren, do you have a list of people, or should we just go down?
I'll just go down the list based off of who's in the room and how we can, and we'll go through each person. So I'll start with you, Alice, if you would like.
No, I'd like to study a little bit what goes on and how it is conducted. I don't have a good feeling to start already.
Okay.
And so I want to calm down a little bit.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll maybe leave you to the end of public comment.
Could be. Otherwise, I'll go from another channel what I have to say.
Okay. Would you like to go?
Sure. I don't, is there
Am I in the way here?
No, we're.
Pardon me? Not at all.
Yeah, okay.
No. Is there parameters in regards to public comment?
No,
3 minutes. Or
3 minutes. 3 minutes is what we're saying for right now. Just remember, this is the committee that's going to be making a recommendation to the council next week. Next Monday night, I'll be presenting at the council meeting the Budget Committee's recommendations. And
so I can talk also then.
You may also talk then.
This is what
they are the ones who make the final decision on the allocations. Generally, they do accept with minor changes the Budget Committee's recommendations. So I'll just turn it over to you, and if you'd like, whatever you'd like to say to the Budget Committee about your project.
No. Okay. Thank you so much. So as I said before, I'm Christy Balzer. I'm the Development Director at Youth Music Project here on behalf of our submission in regards to our Indigenous Panels project. The city was to grant us $1,000 towards this project last year, and we have thus almost completed the first half of the request, which was to create 5 Indigenous panels. The panels are featuring our local Indigenous tribes' musical culture. So we have 3 panels that depict the instruments that our local Indigenous tribes utilize in their ceremonies and their musical experience. And then we also are featuring 2 local Indigenous artists on 2 of the panels, one of them who is a traditional drummer, and one of them who is a young artist who incorporates both traditional Native music as well as more modern style music. Her name is Catherine Paul, and she's a band called Black Belt Eagle Scout. So the first half of the grant helped us to create and work closely with the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde to produce these panels that are very, very close to being completed. The second half of the grant will be to help us present the panels to the public. So we're seeking funding to be able to not only do sort of an open to the public unveiling of the panels, which will be placed permanently within Youth Music Project School, which if you're not familiar with where we are on the corner of 8th and 10th. I don't know how you could miss us if you're driving by that on that intersection. It's a big, beautiful building. And so the panels will be placed there, and we would like to be able to do an unveiling that is open to the public and invite the artists that are featured on the panels to speak to their music and speak to the traditions that are kept alive by the local tribal population. And then also produce an informational brochure that folks can take with them that has the ability to have more information in it than just what we can fit on the panels that would be permanently on display at Youth Music Project. So this project we're hoping that you will fund again so we can complete it. I believe it is a lovely way for us to not only feature our local history, but also incorporate our students and provide some additional musical education to them, which is, of course, what we're all about at Youth Music Project. So, thank you.
Great, thank you for coming.
And your timing was perfect, right at 3 minutes. Very good. Thank you. So who's next? Who's next in the room, Lauren?
I think for here, it's committee members. So I'm going to turn it over to the people online. And I see that we have Emily Randall here from who works with Alice, I believe. So just for the record that you're here, and I'll let Ed pick which order that's on his screen.
Well, I'll just go down the way they're showing up in my participant list. So Alex Hammond.
Hi. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I'm from Sun Garden Montessori Children's House. We're a small school up by Sunset Primary. We serve children 15 months to 6 years of age, and it's a AMI Montessori program. And one part of our program that is really important is that we serve a group of socioeconomic diverse children. And with the grant, we would put that money towards our annual auction. And typically that auction money is funded through parent tuition. A portion of parent tuition is set aside to fund that auction every year. And from the auction proceeds, we have a tuition assistance program. So the auction money, or sorry, the grant money would go to help the auction to then get tuition assistance money.
Did I miss a lot? No, okay.
I have to.
Alex, are you finished, or did you have some more for us?
I think that's all I had.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. No problem. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Next, I'm showing Alice and Emily Randall. Did either one of you want to say anything? Emily?
Alice, I see you right there. Do you want to go ahead and
Yeah,
speak?
do soccer. This is from virtual. That's okay. Go ahead and talk. You know my thoughts. I'm glad you're there.
Okay.
Huh? Yeah.
So the 4th of July.
You want me to open so you get going?
Go ahead.
Is that what we are, Lauren?
I think she's gonna start, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shoot.
The 4th of July celebration, something community-wide. It gives activities for young people and people from Westland as well as neighboring communities to come and celebrate our freedoms here in the U.S. So it's just wonderful that the community comes together to sponsor this, and everyone's able to attend for free. So I'm really proud of the work that Alice has done over the years to get the sponsors, and the part that the city of Westland kicks in that helps to cover the insurance costs so that this can continue to happen. Over to you, Alice.
Yeah. Well, let me cut for 2 minutes in here. It comes to the point that besides that, I don't expect, and thank you very much, Alice and Emily, to put up all this 4th of July every year, which is the only principal event for the nation, for that matter, besides Easter parade, maybe, or this, that, and that. It takes a lot of hours throughout the whole 12 months of the year. It takes this less than days sometimes. It wakes me up. If I have to pay her or anybody else, you guys couldn't afford her nor me. 4th of July will not happen. But I want to bring down on the table that if it wasn't so far, a very dear friend of mine, a businessman, opening up his pocket, I should say his la bourse, what you say, his money bag, let's put it that way. And the city giving me also almost not quite matching him, this will not happen. And yet, the park is packed. 5,000 people at this, according to some people that count around. So it is successful year after year, but it costs money. Last year, I was $1,000 out of my pocket. 3 years ago, $3,000. Well, I don't grow it on the apple tree that I have on my porch. And so there is going to have to be, I can't do it if that is going to be from now on, because the city is taxpayers this money that would come from grant or not grant or whatever, and I will not do that because it's still the people's this money. I have a conscience in there. And so I am talking in here because it's open. A lot of people are also listening at home, I'm sure, virtually or whatever. And I keep talking sometimes with Emily. If we have to pay her, let's say even at $17, nobody could afford it at the time she puts around. My laptop is completely nothing monopolized by the 4th of July. I go in there to do something for myself. It doesn't recognize me even, whether I'm going to buy another laptop. You know how that goes, right? And so, I don't wait for a thank you from the residents. That would be perhaps, they would be happy to see me there for that matter, rather than do anything like that. This is fine
Alice?
with me.
Alice,
Yeah.
thank you. Your 3 minutes are up. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Amen. You see how I get stopped also? I call that discrimination. I'm hoping because I will speak the truth, Ed. I will not hide, not take any clout from anybody. But
Alice,
I have been discriminated by your team so long in this city. That's the only one that I can face to face tell you about it. Goodbye. You can go out anyway. I'm going to sit in here. You can look at me any way you want, ma'am.
I'm just listening. Hopefully.
I hope
All
so.
right.
This is why I hope.
Thank you
I'm
all.
not the only one who needs it.
So thank you,
I have other
Alice.
people.
And thank you, Emily. So let's move on to Jenny Evers, please.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Jenny Evers. I'm the co-president of Westland Wilsonville Music and Arts Partners, otherwise known as MAP. MAP is an independent nonprofit organization made up of volunteers who advocate for music and arts education in our school district. The pandemic impacted fundraising for many organizations, and MAP was no exception. The lack of in-person events, such as concerts, impacted our ability to raise funds. This past school year was the first year for in-person theater events at Westland High School, since events and activities were suspended due to COVID. The Westland High School Theater Department reported a reduction in their budget, and MAP is working to provide assistance where we can. We have submitted a grant request to assist with the rental fees for wireless microphones at the high school so that the theater department can continue to provide quality musical productions in the fall for the community. And I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, Jenny. I appreciate it and apologize for mispronouncing your last name.
That's all right.
Okay. All right, we can move along. Reset the timer. I think Shannon Knight is our last public comment. Shannon? You're muted, Shannon.
Sorry, I was trying to sign on. I didn't know if I was going to have a speaker or not. So actually, I'm going to put close because I know my phone tends to not pick up. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I am here representing Portland Water Spectacular. You might have seen us perform at the Old Time Fair. We are all volunteer 501c3 water ski show team operating here in Westland. Even though we call Portland Water Spectacular, it's because we started in Portland, but now our dock is about half a mile from Burnett Landing, and that's where we practice every night. And most of our team members are Westland residents. Our mission is to teach people to water ski and put on family fun entertainment by offering free Learn to Ski days and free water ski shows. If you haven't seen our show, it's a mix of a Broadway play meets Cirque du Soleil all on water. We act out a show and perform pyramids on water and ballet, kick line, ski jumping, circles around the boats, and other kind of stunts. Our team provides an opportunity for people of all ages to stay active. Our team right now is mostly families with kids and parents skiing on the team, or parents helping out with costumes and travel arrangements and that kind of stuff. But it's a great way for families to spend time together and learn teamwork, showmanship, and volunteerism. Anyone can join our team. We're a very diverse group right now with minorities and LGBTQ members on the team right now. And then we have kids from ages from 2 years old riding on mom's shoulders up to 75 plus. So everyone's pretty much welcome. It doesn't take a lot of athletic skill or anything, and we teach everyone to ski. Most of the team members are new and been doing this only a couple years. Grant funding helps us put on more Learn to Ski days, and our ultimate goal is to turn our dock into a regular show site so that we can put on more shows for the community as well. But USA Water Ski is where our insurance umbrella is, and so on any of the Learn to Ski days, we have to pay $10 per skier for anyone that skis. If we get funding, we get to offer those lessons for free, and we do one-on-one private lessons with each person that comes out for our Learn to Ski days. We provide, all the vests and wetsuits if the water is chilly, and then we also have to pay for gas, and we want to get more and more kids younger and younger out on the water. So we only have, one set of trainer skis for like the little kids are like 5 and under. And so we want to kind of get more of that kind of equipment. We make money in 2 ways, member dues and shows, both which were down for COVID. We have a lot of team members that are over 50 and they just weren't ready to come back to the team. And then we normally do 3 to 5 shows a day, but in 2020 we did no shows. Last year we only did 1 show. This year we're only doing 2 shows, so we're still down in making money from the COVID as well. And that's, I guess, all. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Shannon. Appreciate it. Are there any questions from any of the Budget Committee members for anybody who is here tonight? If so, raise your hand or let me see you. Okay, looks like not. So I want to thank everybody who came and provided public comment on behalf of your organizations. So now I think we'll move to the discussion among the Budget Committee members of the grant applications. So Lauren, did you want to provide a brief introduction to this as far as what grants requests we received and where we are at this moment?
Absolutely. Give me 1 second. I'm going to share my screen here. Let's hope this works. Okay, are you all able to see this Excel document with the allocations from the Budget Committee?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so we received 14 applications this year. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, even though it's going to get a little bit small for a second. 14 applications, and those totaled $42,480 in funding requested. We have $25,000 available. The Budget Committee members have gone through and said how they would like to allocate the funds. They use the criteria that they've used in a number of prior years.
I wonder, is it possible for you to pull up those criteria on your
Absolutely.
computer? Because I think it would be good to review those, not just for the committee, but for the people who are applying for grants.
Right. So the criteria here,
It's the
yeah.
review criteria a little bit further down.
So the event program criteria is these are non-exclusive categories, but are used by the applicants. The first one, are you able, no, you guys are not seeing this probably. I need to share this one now. Hold on 1 second. Back to the meeting.
I think what we need to see is the evaluation criteria, which is a little bit further down in the document.
Let's see where my Microsoft Word. Okay. Let me pull up. Oh. Okay. Okay, so hopefully the people online now can see the criteria, and the criteria is that the evaluation criteria is priority is given to organizations or causes that can demonstrate the specific grant request will directly benefit Westland residents. Priority is given to grant requests for demonstrating the need for seed money where other funding sources are also utilized or will later be utilized for future support. Priority given to first-time and non-repeat applicants. Lowest priority for advertising or promotion. Lowest priority for fundraising type of events. Committee wishes to see the grant funds have a direct impact on Westland residents. When community grants funds are used for fundraising events, the grant may not affect Westland residents unless the donors are primarily from Westland and the beneficiaries are all
Well, I'm
Westland.
falling on the first one, because my state permit a nonprofit states exactly that, benefiting the people of the United States, etc.
Alice, I ask you to be quiet, please, because we're now discussing it among the Budget Committee members. So thank you.
And then,
So in other words, I don't speak.
That's correct.
Freedom of speech.
what this point,
Thank you. A point for me.
okay. So at this point then I can turn over back to the Excel document. So our budget committee went through and allocated the 25,000 how they would like the 25,000 to be seen. Later in the meeting, we can discuss, there's 3 other situations that we have, or 4 other situations. We have little special cases from prior year monies that organizations have asked to roll forward. That's separate from the 25,000 that we're allocating for this year. Generally in the past, we've gone through each of these, and if there's areas where there's 100% consensus from the budget committee, those are the ones that we allocate first. Then we move on to 80% consensus, allocate those. But I will leave that up to the committee to determine how they want to go through the process of allocating these. But that seemed to work well in the past.
Yeah, I agree, Lauren. I think that's a good approach. Unless anybody on the committee disagrees with that approach, we'll start with the ones where we have consensus already. Excuse me. And then we'll work down through the ones where we have like 80%, 60%, 40%, et cetera. So any objection to that?
No.
Not hearing
So
any?
it looks like, oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Lauren.
It looks like the first one that has consensus from all 5 members is the Portland Water Spectacular, and that was $500 from everyone. They requested $500, everyone gave them, allocated $500.
Correct, right. So unless anybody has a comment about that, we could, I think, lock that one in and go move on to the next.
Okay, so just writing some notes. The next one is the Sun Garden Montessori. They requested $1,750 for cost to hold an auction for fundraising events. And it looks like everyone allocated 0. I don't know if that changes after Alex's comments about what the fundraising money would go towards.
Anybody have any other thoughts?
I just would like to make one comment. This is Anne Fraser. And that is that I think that the committee might be willing to consider something next year if you ask for a specific need. Like if you were making application for help with fees or something like that, that would probably fit more with the criteria as they're established in the grant program. So that would make it, I think you might get a better reading of your grant proposal under those circumstances.
Yeah, maybe I had that same thought when, you know, the comment of the fundraising, I believe would go towards, I'll call them scholarships for students in need, if there's something more specific that can target, you know, funding for some of those students and a linkage to Westland residents at the same time. Maybe that's our grant all together.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll add, unless any other committee members have comments, I'll add the same, basically reinforce those comments. I think my concern was, again, this was a fundraising request, and that is one of the lowest priorities for the committee to fund. So, but I'm sure there are some needs that we could meet at the Montessori if you would reapply next year and again request funds for specific needs that that would fit better with our goals that we're trying to achieve here.
Well, thank
So
you.
don't get discouraged.
I
Okay.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Ed, it's Perrin.
Yes.
I just wanted to add, completely agree. And just as an FYI for Alex, I mean, my 2 kids are alumni of Sun Garden from 15, 20 years ago. So I value it, but you know, if it's reworded or stressed in a different
Are
manner
they all members?
next year, I think it would go, you know, much further.
Okay. Well, thank you.
I can hear what he said.
Thank you, Perrin.
He was saying that his kids used to attend Sun Garden Montessori, the school that we were talking about.
Oh.
Okay.
We do have one in here.
So it sounds like everyone's consensus was 0 at this point.
I believe
Okay.
so.
Okay, so moving on to the next one, that's the Westland Library Foundation. They requested $2,500, and everyone allocated $2,500 to them.
Anybody have any comments on that one? I'll just add, I thought it was a very worthwhile use of the funds to support sending books directly to children on a monthly basis. I think it's an excellent program. Don't have any children myself, but I think it's very worthwhile. And so that's why I supported it with the full request of the $2,500. Any
Great.
other comments?
I
Okay.
think that's good.
Hearing
The
none,
children.
let's move on to the 80% levels then, Lauren.
Okay, so the first one at 80% was Clackamas Women's Services. They requested 5,000. Everyone except for Ann allocated 5,000 to them. Ann allocated 4,500.
Well, I'm willing to go to 5,000 if that, I mean, I probably reduced it to try to balance my allocations to 25,000. But we can manage that in a different way.
Okay, I'm hearing 5,000 from everyone. Is there anyone who objects to that?
I think we're locked in, Lauren.
Okay, so the next one is number 3, Community Living Above. They requested $2,000. It looks like everyone except for Sheila allocated the $2,000. Sheila allocated $1,700.
Yeah, and on that one, I think again, that was a balancing exercise. That was my plug to reach our $25,000 total. So if the committee is agreeable, I'm okay increasing that to 2,000.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other comments? Hearing none, I think we're good, Lauren. We can put that one at 2,000.
I'm just gonna click save on this before I lose it. The next one that we have more consensus on is the Westland Food Pantry, which is number 10. They requested $2,000, and it looks like everyone gave them $2,000. Ed actually gave them $3,000.
Yeah, and I'll comment again. I think the food pantry is very worthwhile organization. They do good work, and I know with the pandemic, they've really been severely impacted. So that was why I went actually over what they had requested. But since all my other budget committee partners went with the 2,000, I'm happy to reduce that amount down to 2,000 and give them their full request.
Okay.
This is my thing. I don't know how the whole smoke is going around.
We've got it up here. Yeah.
Oh, not yet.
No, we haven't hit yours yet, Alice. I'll let you know when we do. Give me 1 second here. Let me just format paste that. Okay. Okay, so Westland Food Pantry we have for 2,000. Okay, so the next one that we have is the Westland Pickleball Club. They requested $2,430, a pretty specific amount there. And everyone provided 0 except for Nikki, who allocated about 500.
Yeah, and I'm okay with it. That one I was torn on for sure with trying to balance and give them something, but 0
is fine.
Doesn't bother me either.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Any comments from anybody else? Okay. I think we're good, Lauren.
Okay. The next one is Youth Music Project. They requested $1,500. Everyone did $1,000 with the exception of Ed, who had $1,500 for that.
Yeah, again, I think it's a very worthwhile organization. I really like the idea of getting music out to the kids and getting the kids to participate. I know this was for not directly impacting the children as much as maybe we would have liked, but I thought it was worth the full amount. But again, given the consensus of the other 4 committee members, I'm happy to reduce my number down to $1,000 and make it 5 for 5 if that's agreeable to everybody. Any other comments?
Say thank you.
Okay, so I think that is
Does
the
have
end of
to
our
go to the
80%.
city council. This isn't the final decision.
Yeah. So we can go down to the 60% and then go from there, if that works.
That sounds good, Lauren.
The next one is the 4th of July fireworks event. There was 5,000 requested. Ann, Ed, and Nikki all suggested 3,000. Perrin was at 3,500 and Sheila was at 2,700.
Okay, so we have 3 at 3,000, 3 together at 3,000, and then one slightly above and one slightly below. So Perrin or Sheila, do you have any comments or any thoughts?
I'll go first. My thoughts were solely due to what I perceive as probably a higher insurance given the last couple of summers, and I thought that would be worthy just in case, but also willing to meet in the middle there too, or meet at the average, or 3,000.
Okay, thank you. Sheila, any comments?
I think I got the 2,700 from the budget that was submitted. That was the line item amount for the insurance, but I'm okay increasing to 3,000 to align with the committee.
Okay, thank you.
Correct. The insurance was listed as 2,700, and then there's other items in there that make up the rest of the amount requested.
Okay.
So it sounds
And
like everyone is consistent with 3,000 on that. Is that correct?
I believe that's correct.
3,000.
What did I get last year? I was broke anyway.
I don't know, but
I won't do it anymore, out of my pocket, period. They can pay for it next year.
The next one is, hold on one second.
I don't think
It
they're
doesn't
up
look like we
anymore.
have any more at 60%. So I guess we're going to go to the lower ones now, which are 40%. So the first one we have is Camp Yakety Yak. They requested 4,500. Ann and Sheila both suggested 2,000. Ed was at 2,250. Nikki was at 2,500, and Perrin was at 1,000. The average of those is 1,950, if that is a concern or a factor for anyone.
Yeah, Perrin?
I'll start off. I think it was Ed's comment, which I didn't provide comments, but that was my sole reason. I didn't think it benefited West Lynn residents as much as it might have. Their address is West Lynn, but it looks like the actual site of the camp is in Lake O. So that was the reason. Having said that, and given my higher amount on another 40%er, I'd be willing to raise that as well.
Okay, thank you, Perrin.
Unless there are others that share the Westland versus Lake Oswego benefits or lack of.
Any other comments? Okay, that said, we do have an average of 1950. So would that be a place to settle, or is there somebody who is really like Nikki or somebody who really wants to get more than that for them?
I think we should go to 2,000. 1950 is kind of a weird number.
Yeah, I would say 2,000 makes sense as well.
Okay. Any other comments on that one then? All right. Lauren, I think we're at 2,000 on that one.
Okay, that sounds good. And just kind of a check-in here, it looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4 more grants, and we are at sitting at 18,000 right now. So at the end, we can look at where we're at and adjust accordingly, but just wanted
Yeah.
everyone to know where we're at.
Yeah, I think,
Okay. The next one that we're at is Historic Willamette Main Street. They requested $4,000. Ann was at 1,000, Ed was at 0, Nikki was at 1,500, Perrin was at 3,000, and Sheila was at 1,500. Average being 1,400. Those numbers are kind of all over the place, so I'll talk about that one.
okay. Anybody have a comment to start off with? Well, since I was at 0, I'll just make my comment. I thought that in this case, the plaques, I was trying to meet organizations that I felt were really helping directly as much as possible West Lynn residents, and certainly informational plaques, while very useful, good for people walking around and trying to learn more about historic Willamette. I just didn't feel like it really fit very well with our mission of trying to benefit West Lynn residents directly. So that was why I went 0. That said, since everybody else did allocate some funds, I would be happy to settle up at, say, around $1,500 or something like that, which was we had 2 people at 1,500. But Perrin, Ann, any comments?
No, I when you put it that way, and the mission of the grants, I agree. I would agree, and I'd be happy to. I have to revise down anyway, so I would revise down to 1,500 as well.
Yeah, I guess I'm okay to go to 1,500 if everybody else wants that. I don't. They had $3,000 last year, and you know, I don't know really how much more they need. And I agree with Ed that, you know, helping people more directly rather than providing information on the streets might be more of a priority.
Okay,
So I would sort of advocate for 1,000, but I'll go with 1,500 if everybody else wants that.
Okay. So any other thoughts? If we're settling at 1,500, or does anybody else have any other thoughts? Not hearing any. I think we're at 1,500, Lauren.
Okay.
And again, we may come back and revisit some of these depending on where we end up when we're done.
It sounds like that one's the most uncertain of the ones that we've done, so I'll put a highlight on that in case we want to come back at the end and reallocate that. Number 6 is Music and Art Partners, MAP, and they've requested $2,800. Again, this is one where everyone's at a different amount. This is 0% consistency. The average is $1,200, but we range from $2,000 down to $500. So I'll let you all discuss that one.
Okay. Anybody have any?
This is for the high schools, right? Or is it for all of the schools?
This one says wireless microphone rentals for approximately 15 voice actors for upcoming musical production.
And it's in the West Lynn Wilsonville School District, right?
I believe so. I don't have that information on me right. I mean, I can pull it up if that's a question.
No, I think it is, but I don't have that quite in front of me either.
Okay. Yeah, you wrote no report of use of previous grant appears to be operation at a loss for the last 2 years.
Well, you know, they've been so affected by COVID because they haven't been able to do any performances, but I know that these microphones really make a big difference to the way that they can get stuff across in their performances. So, and I think it's important to sort of encourage the theater arts, especially as they're coming out of no performances for so long. So that was why I thought they should have a reasonable amount. But I realized that you know, we can only give so much money. So I would come down a bit if I could come down to 1,500, which would then be almost a 60% consensus with 1,400, 1,500.
Yeah, that was, my thinking was, yeah, it's a worthwhile expenditure, but I didn't feel like it was necessary that we give the entire 2,800. I just split it in half to 1,400. Perrin and Sheila, do you have any thoughts on, yeah, Perrin, I see your hand.
Yeah, I not entirely sure that I was thinking about the same thing when I input the 500, but and especially after hearing Jenny, I'd go to, I'm happy to increase that to whatever I can. I know I have some left over from adjusting the two others. So 1,400 or 1,500 would be fine by me.
Okay, thank you. Sheila?
Yeah, and I would be okay increasing mine. I think I picked up some things from Jenny's public comment that I didn't get from reading the grant request, so I would be okay increasing the grant amount.
Okay. And Ann, are you comfortable if we were to settle at 1,500?
Yes.
Okay, so it sounds like 1,500 is straight there.
I think so.
Okay, we talked about Sun Goddard Montessori. The next one is number 9, Westland Community Course. They've requested $6,000. This one has 40% consensus at $3,000, which is half. The average is about 2,400.
Okay.
Can you go down to see how much money we've got left?
We have $4,000 left.
Okay.
And I think that this is, we have one more left after this, Historical Society,
Okay.
which
Okay,
it
so-
looks like, I can talk about that one too, because the Historical Society asked for 2,500. That had 2 at the same amount of 2,000, and the average was 1,770.
So, all right. So getting back to the community chorus, I think there we were at, well, we had 2 at 3,000, but that was the top. And then we had 2,500, 2,000, 1,500. So the average is 2,400.
I can give you a little bit of background, and I don't have to sort of, not on the board anymore, but I know that they are coming out of a really tough time with COVID, and their director resigned because they passed a rule that said people who were going to come and sing had to be vaccinated. And so she and several other people in the chorus resigned, and I can speak more to this when we talk about the use of their funds from last year. And so they've hired a new director, and they're hoping to rebuild. You know, they had upwards of 80 singers before COVID, and now they're in ruins, as it were, because they just haven't been able to do anything. They've tried online concerts, but online concerts don't bring in any money at all, period. And so, you know, a lot of their income has gone away over the last 2 years, but they still have expenses to pay. So I think that it would be good to give them a reasonable amount of money. I think $6,000 is a huge ask, and that's why I suggested 2,500. But if you think we can give them 3,000, that'd be great.
Okay. Any other comments from anybody?
I guess I'll be curious to see where we balance that in total, but yeah, I could get comfortable going above, you know, the 1,500 that I put there initially. Again, whether that's 2,500, 3,000, I think it's going to depend on where we land here at this point, right?
Right.
Yeah, I think given that average was 2,400, the number I'm thinking of is 2,500. If people would be okay with that, but any other comments on that? See, one thumbs up, so no objection to 2,500 at the moment. We can always revisit. Okay, so let's go with 2,500 for that one, Lauren.
Okay. That was
Then
number
that
9.
leaves the Westland
That leaves
Historical
one
Society.
left at number 11. That's the Westland Historical Society. They've requested 2,500. Two individuals came in at 2,000, otherwise ranging from 850 to 2,500. Average is 1,770.
Okay. Not that this should affect us, but we have $1,500 available. But if we feel like it should be more, we can always go back and revisit somebody else who gets, we could maybe decrease somewhat. So let's not look at this as just 1,500, but that would be maybe a starting point that we could think about. We had a bit of a range, but the average was 1,770. If it's felt that we should be up closer to 2,000, we could certainly look at that and then see where else we might want to reduce a little bit. So any comments on that?
I'd be happy to come down to 1,500.
Okay.
Then you'd have a consent. No, you wouldn't. No, you'd have 2 at 1,500.
Well, my thought at 850 was, I think I was a little concerned about marketing and advertising costs, some of the costs, consultant fee, but certainly it is a worthwhile organization, and I would be okay with increasing up to 1,500 if there's consensus at that number. So any other comments? I'm not seeing any objections to 1,500? No. Okay. So Lauren, I think we're good there.
Well, that makes it way too easy. I mean, I think you all are super efficient there. I'll go through and read each one again and how much we're planning on allocating, and then just, kind of take a final vote / recommendation. Maybe we can wait until after we talk about those 4 other prior year grants and then take a vote on the whole thing together. So Camp Yakety Yak, we're allocating $2,000. Clackamas Women's Services, we're allocating $5,000. Community Living Above, $2,000. Historic Willamette Main Street, $1,500. 4th of July Fireworks, $3,000. Music and Art Partners, $1,500. Portland Water Spectacular, $500. Sun Garden Montessori, $0. Westland Community Course, $2,500. Westland Food Pantry, $2,000. Westland Historical Society, $1,500. Westland Library Foundation, $2,500. Westland Pickleball Club, $0. Youth Music Project, $1,000. Are there any questions, concerns, changes to that? Okay.
I don't have any. Anybody else? Don't see any, Lauren. I think we're set.
Okay. So I have a few different situations, and I am not as familiar as on this as Josh is, so I'm sorry. I'm going to read a couple things, and I just can't find my email that I have, but the first one is due to outreach difficulties during the COVID-19 pandemic, the Westland Lake Oswego Village reported that they were unable to spend all of their award funds from the previous grant year. They wish to retain their unused funds from their 2022 award and use them, and they didn't reapply this year, I believe. Yeah, so they did not reply this year, and they would like to reuse their funds this year. Does anyone have any opposition to that? It's funds that we've already spent, it's just them not returning it.
They're rolling it over essentially to
Exactly.
2023.
Exactly.
What is it? It's an organization that supports seniors.
Support what?
It's an organization that supports senior people,
Senior citizens.
senior citizens. They have, they do quite a bit. They do quite a bit online. They have a lot of sort of Zoom type meetings, and they provide rides for people to go to the doctor or other appointments. It's a way of keeping people in their homes, but with a certain amount of support, and it's all done sort of by volunteers.
Really?
So it's Willow stands for Westland Lake Oswego Village. Yeah, it says that there. So it's combined, the two suburbs, and I have friends who are active in it, and they get a lot of services that they really appreciate.
I am over 90. I never heard of them, and when I needed something, I had to go to Oregon City Chamber of Commerce and their organization over there, you know, senior.
Well, maybe you can find out about Willow and sign up with them.
They don't. They actually told me that.
What do you mean?
They won't help me.
Willow won't help you?
No, you know,
let's,
who helped even
If we
today?
could keep, hey, everybody, if we could keep our conversation, we really should be just deliberating as the budget committee now. We're not taking public input. So
I get the picture.
if you
So is
want,
anyone opposed to them keeping their funding from prior year and moving it forward to this year?
I was trying to find, Lauren, what the amount was. Trying to see
Let me
if I
pull
can-
up the spreadsheet from last year to see exactly what was allocated here.
Isn't that what that second column is?
I think that's what they requested. I'm not 100% positive if that's what they actually,
Or that may be the amount they're trying to roll over.
let's see.
So
Down there under.
That would not be it, right?
looks like,
Adopted by the
Right.
council. There we go. So this would be Willow. They had $940.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the same amount as what they requested.
okay. And they didn't tell us how much they want to roll over or why they weren't able.
I think they haven't been able to spend any of it or all of it. I don't know how much they've spent, but that's all the information I have in this email or this document. So, but it sounds like all of it.
Okay. Yeah, Perrin?
Yeah, I see on, I think it was Josh's first preliminary, but in the, under Willow, there was a comment, would like to retain $270 unspent from fiscal year 22 award to be used toward member dues scholarship.
Okay,
So
Thank you.
270?
okay. Yeah, Sheila?
And I just have a clarifying question. So if we do allow the organizations to roll their funds over, do they still have to report it back, like at next year's report out on how they spent the funds still? So there's still that accountability in place?
Yes, there is.
I wonder if they reported for 2020, 2021, 22 yet.
I doubt that they have, just because generally people don't report back until they finish
Spending the money.
finish spending the money. I can see if I have a report back in here.
It's at the top of the yellow icons there.
Is this recorded?
This is
So
recorded.
if somebody wants to get a recorder of theirs, they can obtain it.
Yes.
Good. Very good. Thank you.
Application, I don't see a report back.
Still might see my lawyer.
So, yeah, I don't see any report back yet, but I'm assuming that they'll file their report back when they're finished spending the funds. Okay? It sounds like everyone is okay with them keeping the $270, so I will move forward to the next one. The Westland Community Course reported that they revised the purpose of their 2022 award. Originally, the planned use for their 2022 funds were to purchase a live streaming equipment, personnel costs for outreach program expansion, and personnel costs for their event preparation. The Westland Community Course reported that during 2022, they unexpectedly lost their storage option for their choral
risers, yeah.
Choral risers, and instead used their award to fund the purchase of a trailer that would safely store their choral risers and allow them to travel for events. And so they would like to the grant committee to approve that, or they would have to return the funding for their grant.
Any comments from anybody? I have no problem with that.
Do you
Anybody
want
else?
any background, or do you want to, do you want to know why that happened, or is it just as it's stated enough?
Well, we could either just rely on the statement they just made, Ann, or if you have some information you'd like to share, I guess I wouldn't have any objection to that.
If anybody wants more information, I'll give it, but otherwise I think it's, if you're okay with what they've asked for, everybody is, then I don't need to say anymore. I do think it's a very worthwhile investment of the funding, particularly since they really couldn't do half of what they wanted to do last year because of COVID.
Right.
I'll leave it at that.
Sheila?
So I just have another clarifying question. So do we have a precedent for kind of repurposing the funds that we've been historically aware of? I'm just curious. Like, I understand I'm supportive of still allowing them to keep the funds. I'm just curious what the precedent is on that.
So generally, we haven't really had a situation like this. I will say that we did receive many calls from them, our finance department talked to them specifically, and they said that they hadn't been able to spend the funds, and that there was this, and they told us up front, like, there was this worthy cause that they would like to spend the funds on, but and that they're going to spend the funds they're going to spend funds of their own, no matter what, on that purpose. And then if the committee decided later on that they had to return them, then they would, but they would be very disappointed in that, obviously. So they did tell us before, and have the funds, have separate funds that they technically used for this and could return, but they requested that the money be focused on that instead. So,
well, I can tell you that if they had used their own funds, it would have practically bankrupted them.
Yeah.
They do not have a deep pocket.
Yeah.
So it would have been very difficult if they had to spend their own money.
Okay. I see Perrin's hand up. Perrin?
I agree. It's a very good use of the funds. My only comment is similar to Sheila's, is that it would have been nice to, if they had the foresight to know this prior, but it does sound like they have communicated, Lauren, with a finance group there. So it's not like they just came out of the blue and said, well, let's use this money. So my only point was, had it been possible, it would have been nice to know when we went through this process last year or whenever it was awarded. That's all.
right.
They didn't know then.
Yeah.
This came up last fall sometime.
And that was kind of a question that that my finance team worked on is, do we want to send that out to the budget committee? But then, of course, there's a deliberation over email, which is not okay. And so, we talked it through with the grant recipient and we both determined that, they would move forward. They knew that they were moving forward with the purchase no matter what. And then they decided ultimately, like, if it wasn't approved by the budget committee at this point, then they knew that they would just have to return the funds from prior year, which would be really hard on them, but that was the only choice at that point. So I didn't feel like it was worth calling a citizen budget committee meeting at that time, but, you know, we did need to address that, so. But it sounds like everyone is okay with that, so I'll move forward to the next one. Historic Willamette Main Street has delayed the installation of their Willamette Meteorite replica sign to August 2022, which coincides with the 60th anniversary of the replica. They just, I believe, want to let you know that they're spending the funds in August of this year instead of when they originally planned on that, and verify that that's okay to move forward with that.
Any comments from anybody?
It's only a couple of months beyond the year that they were awarded.
I think with things how they're going with purchasing and doing anything right now, it's completely reasonable to me that things might take a little bit longer. The last one is the one that Josh sent out yesterday about the Friends of Maddox Woods. They wish to use their 2022 grant funding for a different purpose than their original application. And then their write-up was that they're proposing they use the requested funds, $500, to be allowed to reproduce interpretive panels of high quality to replace the damaged set of panels that represent the Maddox home and boat building industry. These panels, in conjunction with the Heron Life Cycle posters and new nature feature posters currently being designed, would provide a well-rounded program for visitors of many interests to gain a deeper enjoyment of the park's special features. So that is just changing how they are spending their $500 that they received last year, which their notes were pretty vague, materials and supplies. And so I don't know if it's a huge difference, but they wanted us to bring that forward.
I have no problem with that. Anybody else have a comment?
No problem.
I think I'm okay with it, but I think I'm just thinking, like, for the future, I don't know if it would be helpful, Lauren, just to add something to the application criteria, like if you need to have a change, and maybe it's a offline policy or something, like this is when it goes to the budget committee versus this is when the city kind of gives the yay or nay, because I would hate for someone to have to wait a full year if they need to repurpose their funds. You know, like with the chorus, how they had to kind of move quickly, whereas this was one that would kind of wait. So just thought for future consideration.
So to clarify, are you thinking that it would come to the budget committee earlier, or how would we handle that?
I don't know that. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there as a question. I just don't know how often that happens. You know, I've been on the committee a couple of years, and I think this is the first time that it's happened, so it might not happen very much. But I just think there should be a process just so they're all fairly vetted.
Yeah, it's actually interesting. I've been here for almost 11 years, so I've done this a number of times, 11 or 10 or 11 times at this point, and I think maybe once or twice we had someone who would roll forward, you know, $200 or maybe up to $1,000. That happened once or twice in the history. So the fact that we have 4 people from last year who either needed to change their grant or move it forward just kind of shows the times that we're in right now. And I think that it hopefully won't happen a lot in the future, but you know, we can kind of be flexible with that. So
if we did develop, well, if a policy was developed, who would develop it? Would it be this committee or would it be the finance department? I mean,
I think that it could be this committee. It could be either. Really, this is your process. You're the advisory committee. The 5 of you are the advisory committee to the council. So it is up to you how you want to change your criteria. With that being said, it doesn't mean that the council is going to feel the same way. And I'm open to changing things if there's a need, or if there's just a really good reason, why that we want to change something, and I can present that to council and just say, hey, we're gonna change it to this way. We'll be meeting a lot more next spring, so we can, if there's a quick change that we need to make before the process is kind of finalized next spring, we could do that earlier on, and that way, when we get to this point, the criteria and changes are already made. But it's up to you. And if anyone wants to see a change like that, and minor things like just like clarifying language, I think like what Sheila was maybe recommending is that it's more of a clarifying language in there. I don't see a need for that to go to council or anything like that. That I think I can just update in the criteria or in the report back form or in application information. That's more of an informative thing. But if there is something like major, if we're going to change how we're allocating the grants, then I definitely think we would want to present that to council and so that they know how and why you're doing what you're doing.
It's logical. Okay.
So it sounds like we have consensus on all, on the $25,000 that we're allocating for this year, and it sounds like we have consensus on the four grants from last year that we're going to let them either repurpose or carry their funds forward for all of them. I think at this point we can take a vote to approve all of that of you, and then I will take that to council on Monday.
All right.
Okay, so I would accept a motion to approve the allocated amounts from the spreadsheet for this year, and also approving the repurposing or updating the timeline for the previous four allocations as well. If somebody can put that into better English, feel free.
I was going with so moved, so there's my better English.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Perrin. Okay, so we have a motion and a second then to approve the allocated amounts per the spreadsheet, and also to approve the rolling ahead of the other four previously allocated amounts. So with that, I guess, Lauren, would you take the roll, please?
Yes.
Can I just say, I think we need to add not just forwarding, but repurposing, because not all of those four are forwarding, are asking for an extension. In one case,
Right.
it's repurposing.
And you're right, I should have included the word repurposing. And
Yeah, I think we should include that word in the motion.
Okay. So it sounds like the motion has been revised to allocate the $25,000 and the roll forward / repurposing of the grants from the four grants from the prior year. I'll call roll. Nikki?
Agreed.
Agreed. Dan?
Aye.
Ed?
yes,
Sheila?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Okay, so the motion passes 5-0. So I will be presenting this Monday, the 13th, so next Monday. If any of you would like to come and speak, I'd be more than happy to have you there, but not expected. I know that the meetings sometimes go pretty late, and I don't think we're on the agenda until later in the evening, so I can understand why no one would want to be there at 9 o'clock. And if there's anything that you would like to communicate with me about the process, I'd be happy to talk about that. With that being said, maybe prior to next spring, but definitely early next spring, we're going to have a budget to pass, a biennial budget. So that's when things get really fun. A few of you, I think most of you, have already gone through this process.
For the 23?
It will be for fiscal year, for the two fiscal years, 24 and 25. you know, this is going to be a really challenging budget. I know we've talked about that in the past. This one is, we were coming into it with a deficit. We have made a lot of revisions over the last few years to kind of to cut costs as much as we can and do as much savings. Obviously, with inflation going as things are, you know, it's going to be an interesting one. I won't go into too much more detail because I don't want to, we didn't post that on the agenda, but if any of you would like to get together with me or anyone else from the city to kind of go over what we're looking at, and maybe Nikki, if we want to just do an introduction, or if anyone else wants to come back and do a kind of a recap of the budget and where we're at and what we're looking at, I would love to do that. I'm available always to do that. And I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a challenging one, but it's going to be, I think that we're going to figure it out. So, any questions on that?
No questions on that. Just wanted to thank you, Lauren, and also please thank Josh for us as well. You did a great job, as always, of organizing this and making this process go real smoothly. I also wanted to thank those members of the various organizations who joined us tonight and provided comments and input to us as well. And I want to thank my fellow Budget Committee members for showing up and being so agreeable and again, making this process go so smoothly. So thank you all.
Yes, I very much so appreciate all of you, and I very much so appreciate Josh. I hope he's enjoying his vacation, but he did a tremendous amount of work on this as usual, and it's definitely a lot to put together. So I appreciate him doing that. And
I thought he'd be here tonight, but yeah.
He's on vacation.
This is recorded.
Yeah.
No, not recorded. I mean, virtual, like people would see it.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and with that, I will adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Why is this thing going like that?